Hi everyone, welcome back to Good for the Game TV. We're going to be talking Vuelta a España. We're down to the final week, and what a grand tour it's been. You know, I love the Tour de France. I love the Giro for that matter, but there's something about the Vuelta. It always delivers the goods as far as entertainment goes. And we got something like 7 men within 2 minutes, 10 seconds of the lead. A time trial to come tomorrow, and then some pretty mountainous stages after that. In short, anything can happen. We don't have a dominant team. We don't have a dominant rider. And that makes for an exciting grand tour. And of course, from a punting perspective, plenty of excitement as well. Let's waste no time and get you introduced to our guests on the show. Starting off, well, down in George. These two, by the way, are not that far apart from each other. It's Hein Diemont, a.k.a. Couch Critic on the Good for the Game forum. Couch, you're obviously looking forward to this final week.
Yes, definitely, Brent. I think we've seen a bit of a shake-up happening in the first few weeks, but this is where the action really happens and where things are going to be decided, eh?
That's for sure, and stay not far away from you in Neisner. It's Chris Sturdy at Good for the Game on Twitter. Chris, I know you're struggling a bit from a betting angle at the moment in terms of finding some inspiration, but no doubt from a viewing point of view, are really looking forward to the next few days.
Yeah, it's been good stuff so far, Brent, and then tomorrow's time trial is going to certainly cause a big shake-up and lots of climbing to come after that.
It certainly is. Well, look, guys, what I'm going to do to start off with, let's just have a look before even going to the betting. I'm just going to share my screen here and take you through a couple of basics, if I can put it that way. Starting off with the outright classification at the moment. We've got Yates there sitting in the red jersey at the moment. He is 26 seconds ahead of Valverde, the Movistar rider. His teammate Quintana a further 7 seconds behind. We got Lopez 43 seconds back. Kruijswijk, who I'm going to talk about a bit later in the show, at 1 minute 29. And then we got the big sensation of the tour, really, Enric Mas. He's 1:55 down. And Thibaut Pinot, who gained some nice time the other day and also netted me a nice 25-1 stage winner just before the rest day. He is not totally out of it, although it's doubtful that he's going to be able to come back from 2 minutes and 10 down. I'll just take you through the stage profiles quickly, just so we can have a look at what lies ahead the next few days. We got tomorrow's 32-kilometer time trial. It looks pretty flat. I have been reading some reports on the Cycling News Forum that, once again, the Vuelta organizers may not have totally done the profile justice, and there may be a little bit more hill in there than what it's showing. But irrespective of that, it's a fairly short individual time trial by tour standards, but we've got 32 Ks there. We then move on to what looks a very exciting stage. That will be on Wednesday, 157 kilometers and ending pretty much on a very steep mountain. A bit of a stage, I would think, for the breakaway. Possibly if there's any sprinters left in the race with the teams that can chase it down, we'll have something of a transition stage on Friday. On Thursday. And then that brings us into two closing stages before the final stage in Madrid. This one finishing at high altitude, over 2,000 meters above sea level, and we'll talk about the impacts of that as well. Finishing on a very difficult climb. At this stage, those who want to challenge for the red jersey are really going to have to lay their cards on the line. And then we've got a short but brutal 90-odd kilometer stage on Saturday with plenty of climbs. And we know from the Tour de France that these short stages can be very, very entertaining. I'm expecting even more entertainment here in the Vuelta. And, it's going to be some thrilling stuff. I'll just quickly pop onto the outright betting here, and I'll have a look at WSB's sites where we got Yates at even money, Quintana 28-10, Lopez 7-2, Valverde 4-1, and Kruijswijk at 18-1. I'm not going to go much beyond that as far as the betting goes. It'll probably be contested between those guys. And then just popping across to Sunbet as well. We've also got some slight differences in prices there. Valverde, for example, 7-1, a bit bigger at Sunbet, and Kruijswijk a little bit shorter there at 15-1. So, Chris, let me start off with you. From an outright perspective, we've got Yates sitting there very much around the even money mark, favorite at a bit of 23-20 available. What do you make of his chances? Is he going to blow up like he did in the Giro, or do you see him keeping on rolling?
I think he will blow up like he did in the Giro, but I don't think I'd be rushing in to back him at even money. The way that I see it with the leading GC guys is that there's not much between them. They've been attacking each other, but late. Nobody's really had a go from like distance. And this is all going to change in this final week, and especially after we see how the land lies with the time trial on Tuesday. I don't know. I don't see Yates cracking like what he did in the Giro, but I wouldn't be rushing in at even money, Brent. No, not for me.
Well, Hein, the time trial is going to be key, given how close everyone is. Normally, you've got someone in the tour or in one of the grand tours of this position who you'd call a time trial specialist amongst the contenders, but you don't have that here. You've got a lot of guys who have had occasional good time trials over the years, but generally the race against the clock is not their strong point. And you've got a guy like Rowan Dennis, who we'll talk about later. He's obviously a big favourite for the stage. But amongst the GC guys, none of these guys are renowned for racing against the clock. So a lot is going to depend on tomorrow, because there's a lot of scenarios that could play out. We could have a guy like Valverde riding really well in the time trial and going into the red jersey, or we could have Yates, who's done a few good time trials in his time holding out there. But plenty to look at, including the, let's call it the internal battle between Quintana and Valverde at Movistar.
Yes, there's no, as you say, there's no Froome or for Gary and Thomas who would have been licking their lips and waiting for the time trial. It's a case of, I think that's also what you saw of Lopez and Quintana. They're also not convinced that Yates going to put a lot of time into them. So it's going to be interesting. I think the big thing though is that after the time trial, there's going to be no hiding. You know, there's no late time trial after that. There are two big mountain stages, maybe a third if you want to call it that, with the wall on stage 19. So I mean, after that, the cards are going to be on the table. And if I've got it right, I think Yates will take time on both the other two. And probably not on Valverde. I think it could be very close for Red actually after tomorrow. But I think he'll take time on Quintana and definitely on Lopez. And then Lopez is the wild card. You know, he could blow things up in stage 19 and especially stage 20. I think those are going to be big stages. And you know, if he's a minute behind, he's got nothing to lose. So he could be gassing it from the go. So that could be chaos.
Chris, one of the things I really enjoyed about this tour, this Vuelta, is that there's no dominant team as such. You'd argue that Movistar have probably got the strongest team, although Astana is certainly not bad either. But you haven't got a situation where one team's been able to control it. And it was fascinating to watch on Sunday's stage. Pino managed to break away, which I was obviously very happy with, being on him for the stage. But after that, you had cases where Lopez went, Yates went, and then it was actually left to the contenders themselves, the GC contenders, to actually chase it down. And plenty of politics playing out between those boys. And it really does make for some exciting racing.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like it's, you know, who's going to work with who. Yates was having a slight dig with Lopez about working together. The previous mountain stage, Quintana had the same argument. But yeah, I think that Movistar and Astana are definitely the strongest teams. But the way that it's been panning out is that by the time these guys have been attacking each other, they're down to like maybe one teammate each as well, you know? And I think the Valverde factor, if I'm right, Brent, are you on Valverde outright?
Yeah, I'm just actually going to ask you guys if you had any selections. Look, I didn't take Valverde outright at the beginning. I took a couple of long shots. I had, I think it was George Bennett was one of them, and I had a bit of an interesting Kruijswijk. And I like Valverde. I see he's 4-1 at WSB, but 7-1 at Sunbet. And I'm thinking that there could be some money for Valverde. And I'll tell you my logic here is that I do expect a decent time trial from him. He's obviously in the twilight of his career, would be very keen to win this Grand Tour. He has shown on occasions he's willing to ride for Quintana, but I think if he can put on a big time trial here, if he can be a minute ahead of Quintana going into the final stages, I almost think that Movistar are going to have to rethink their tactics and ride for him. And because there is no such strong team to put him under pressure, he probably just has to hang in there and sort of ride the way he's been riding, and he's got an excellent chance to win. And I'm on the 7-1. Hein, I don't know what you feel about that. 7-1 Valverde.
Yes, I think at 7-1, it's a decent price. The only thing I think he's got in his favour is the 1-2, where they probably can't end up chasing both Quintana and him. But I still think I actually think I was very upset with the way Quintana rode yesterday, or when was it? So I was a bit disappointed. But the more I think about it, I think Nairo feels he's got this well in hand. I think he can crack Yates. He'll definitely crack Yates in my view on stage 5, and I actually think he's going to crack Valverde on stage 5 as well. I know he's got a great tour, but again, like happened yesterday, I think they could have broken well clear of Valverde, but then they stopped and they played a game between themselves, and they let him come back every time. So I mean, he just didn't have the legs to stay with the top 4. So I still feel it's the top 3. I actually feel it is between the 3, and Valverde's only chance is if they play cat and mouse and he can go away, and Quintana just looks at the rest and says, I'm not chasing my teammate. And that's the thing that could be interesting, you know, on stage 20 when there's nothing left. and Quintana's about third, and Valverde goes. Is he going to chase after him and say, bugger this, I want to win this thing outright? So that's going to be the big key. You know, are they going to be on the same page there? But as you say, Valverde's got nothing to lose. It's probably his last hurrah, and he is in great form. But I don't know if six climbs on stage 20. I don't know whether the legs are going to make it for him.
Chris, it's interesting that Couch says there that he thinks Quintana's got it all in hand, because I at one stage was thinking the same, but I've got a different view now. I don't think Quintana's got it in hand. I actually don't think Quintana's got great legs at the moment. I think he's been shown up at the end of the previous stages where Lopez has sort of pulled a little bit ahead of him. And I think there's an expectation that Quintana, you know, will be able to sort of pull away and attack more. And he's taken quite a bit of criticism. And I'm wondering if that's just because he actually is at his limit and he really doesn't have he doesn't have the sort of ability to just ride away from the guys.
I think there was one stage, Brent, where Quintana and Lopez were away, and Lopez clearly didn't want to work. And I feel a bit for Quintana in that point, because I reckon that he would probably have hoped to be in the leader's jersey by now, especially with the time trial coming on Tuesday. Has he really got the legs on everybody else? No, I'm not convinced, to be honest. And I think this has opened the door again for Valverde. I think if Quintana had been in the lead, then there would be no doubt that Valverde would be pulling for Quintana from now to the rest of the tour. But Valverde will take time on these guys tomorrow, of the GC men, as long as things go to form. And that opens the door again for, the guy who's getting on a bit, but seems to know no boundaries in terms of what his age is limiting him to.
Well, guys, I don't know if you've looked at any of the other classifications, but the team race is quite interesting. You've got Movistar currently trailing Bahrain Merida by just over 3 minutes. They pegged a little bit back on Sunday, and I expect they might peg a bit back more, if not take the lead in the time trial. So you've got Movistar trading. You can get 9 to 10 Movistar, and you can get 5 to 4 about Bahrain Merida. And Hein, let me ask you, have you had a look at the team competition? You got any views on this? Because Movistar clearly have the class, but they are going to be focused on the individual competition, whereas Bahrain are definitely going to be firmly focused on the team comp.
Yes, that's exactly the point, Brent. I actually saw a 7 to 10 Movistar, and I thought, okay, that's probably about right, because you know what power they have and how they do like the team comp. But as you said, I think they're going to have their minds. As we said, it could come down to stage 20, and you don't know who's going to be the favorite between the two. So they've got internal politics to sort out, and Carapaz, clearly he's going to be working his butt off for the two of them. So I think it's all hands to the pump there. And if you are going to back someone, then Bahrain is going to be the one to go for, because I just don't. Movistar will win it by default, not by trying.
Chris, for me, the way I'm analysing the market is, if all the stages go down to the sort of GT contenders, you'd probably expect Movistar to win it, because they're going to have Quintana and Valverde in the mix at the end. But I'm not sure, as much as Movistar will want to protect the team comp, if a big break goes clear with 3 Bahrain guys in it, they're probably just going to have to accept that they can maybe only have 1 in the break, because they need to leave guys behind to work for the other 2.
Yeah, I don't think that would really be their ambition. I mean, they'd take the team competition winning that for sure. But when you look at what they've got out there, the ambitions was clearly GC. So I don't see them necessarily abandoning that now. As Hein says, if they win it, they probably win it by default, rather than tactically saying, yeah, we're going to get 3 guys over the line first and claw this deficit back on Bahrain.
Right, well, let's have a look at a couple of the other. I'm not going to share the screen here, but just going to have a look at a couple of the other classifications. The King of the Mountains is looking pretty competitive at the moment. And just looking at WSB side here, we got Mollema, Chris, your old favourite, at 5 to 2. Ben King, who's won a couple of stages already, he's 3 to 1. And another favourite of Chris Sturdy's is Thomas de Gent at 9 to 2. So, Chris, I'll stay with you. Any fancies there? This is a jersey I struggle with personally.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how this one pans out. I believe the guy, Mate, that's leader at the moment with 64 points, he was sick on the Sunday stage and didn't feature. But that could be, just like a 24-hour thing, and he might come back firing in the next mountain stage. Yeah, Thomas is definitely going for it. Hey, Tommy again, he's definitely putting a marker down there, and he's saying that he wants to be. But when you look at it, the way that I've got it is Mate on 64 points, and you go down to Mollema in 4th on 50 points, and lots of big climbs to come. So that can all change very, very quickly. Mollema in the break almost religiously, isn't he? He's there. and I think stage win was his thing. Stage win was his thing, but he's taken him towards the King of the Mountains jersey. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he scoots from fourth to first.
Right, and Hein, I know you got a bit of a fancy in this one.
Yes, I just think I like to go for a team that's going to throw all the eggs in one basket, and King has really impressed me, and I actually think he's got a nice bit of firepower there. He beat Mollema, I think, on the second climb when they had a deal for it. So I think banking, and especially, as you say, it's probably going to be GC action, most of those big stages. So they're going to get out in front, try and mop up a few of the climbs, and then probably lose out on the last one, maybe the last two, especially on that big stage. So in that case, I think King's going to get out there. Mollema is going to try and go and win one, and that way win it if he does completely focus on it. Either way, he'll want to win, and he is a form climber at the moment. But I'm taking the firepower of Ben King to beat him to the line on when they're dueling for it one-on-one. Tommy the Ghent, obviously, he's going to be there. He's going to be trying probably 3 out of 3 in the mountain stages. But again, I feel the others are pure climbers better than him. So I'll take Ben King. And if you really want something, then actually I think there was a 12-1 Miguel Angel. I think he could be Lopez. I think he could be a runner at 12-1 because, as I said, if he's down a minute and a half, he might go ballistic on these climbing stages and know that let Astana chase everything down and I'm going to win all of them. And I think if he wins 3 out of 3 or 2 out of 3, he's probably going to be able to win the mountains with all those points available there.
Yeah, I see he is 12-1. I was checking out. He got 12-1. So nothing else really appeals on the long-term markets. You've got Valverde very short in the points classification. There was some nice value on him probably about a week ago because looking at the stages, it did look like it was going to suit him. And unfortunately, I didn't get on there. You could have got about 7-4 about his chances there. But let me ask both of you, I am going to share some bets at the end on the long term. But Chris, who's your winner from here?
Tough one. Look, I like Yates, but even money is just too short. Hey, there's so much that can happen, and as Hein says, everything is going to come down to that last mountain stage where we've got 6 climbs. I think 3 are Cat 1s, and then we end with a HC, and a short stage as well. So hell for leather from gun to tape. Yeah, man, I don't see Yates cracking, but as I say, I'm not backing him at even money. I've got my money on Uran for a top 3, but I think I've maybe out of the running now after he lost big time on Sunday.
Yeah, he needs a really big individual time trial, which is not beyond him in top form, but yeah, he would need to put a big performance out of the hat tomorrow.
He could actually make up serious time in the time trial, but then he loses it again in the mountain stages to come,
That's it. He has been battling just to hang on a little bit there. Hein, anything? Well, let me ask you first, pick your winner and then just confirm your long-term bet on the King of the Mountains.
Yeah, I think the big thing there is that you could get Yates having 2 great mountain stages. He could be 2 minutes ahead, and the problem is that in that last stage, it's almost going to be to your disadvantage. Even someone like Pino could stage a crazy break if he's within 3 minutes or something like we saw a Froome in the Giro. So it could be chaos. As I said, you can actually have a Kruijswijk or someone really have a go, and the guys just be, listen, no, we're going to back ourselves to slowly reel him in, and then they just never get him. So I think this is actually, it's brilliant. It's going to be very volatile, but I still think I'm actually very happy at this stage being on Lopez. I still think he's the best climber in the race. I'm confident in him. I think he's gonna come good in the real climbs. As you guys have said, you don't think Quintana's got it, and I think Quintana is his biggest threat. So if you guys are happy Quintana isn't gonna do it, I'm happy sticking to Lopez.
Right. Okay. Well, I must say, although I don't think Quintana is dominant, I do think he has every chance of winning. I think that's how open this race is. There's question marks over all the guys, but at the same time, all of them have the ability to win it. I was just having a quick glimpse then at the stage tomorrow. Unfortunately, tomorrow's stage, guys, is very much perhaps one of the deader betting heats. We've got Rowan Dennis trading at 3-10. He, of course, won the opening short stage, which was over about 7 kilometers. And he's pretty much hidden in the pack since then. And this is obviously his focus ahead of the World Time Trial Championships. He's very short. One guy you could perhaps see giving him a bit of a run is Victor Kampenaerts at 9-2. You've got Jonathan Castrovillo, who's now riding with Sky at 12-1. And Movistar's Nelson Oliveira, who who could also perhaps be thereabouts at 14-1. Kwiatkowski, he was down in an accident the other day, but at his best, he would certainly have a crack at 17-1. And then you could skim down to the first of the sort of general classification guys, Kelderman at 40-1. And I'm just scanning even further down. You've got Richie Port at 80-1. Now, we haven't really spoken about Port in this tour for obvious reasons. He really just hasn't been a contender. But this would actually been perfect for Richie Port if he was in contention and in good form, because, Chris, he would have been a hot pot favourite against all the other GC guys in the ITT.
Yeah, I reckon so, Brent. I'm surprised that we haven't seen him more prominent in breakaways in these previous few mountain stages, because he's still quite prominent in the betting for the World Championships at the end of the month. And, you know, this is all now since his GC hopes went up in smoke on the first couple of stages. This is all about getting in shape for that. But I thought that we might see, we've seen Nibali similar, but we've seen Nibali in the last few days. You know, he's been up there, whether he's been playing super domestique for his team, or whether he's been in the breakaways or whatever. You know, he looks like a man who's really getting into shape. But we haven't quite seen that. Whether we see it in the time trial and then the mountain stages to come, yeah, I think it's overdue.
Well, I'll be keeping an eye on Port, because I think you're right. I think let's have a look how he goes in the time trial. If he shows signs of form, he could certainly be worth backing, perhaps to get into one of the breaks and perhaps contest for a stage. Hein, you got any bets for us in the stage itself? I know there's match bets and that you can get. Sunbet also have top 3 betting.
Yes, I'm just obviously Sky is they love the time trial, and I'm definitely going for Spaniard there, so I'll go for Castroveo to do a top 3. I was obviously hoping to get closer to even money, but I think the best I could find was 15-20, so I'll just have a little one on that. I think he's been saving himself for this, and Sky haven't really shone, so I think he's gonna go on that one. Then on some of the match bets, Ion Izagirre is actually a very good time trialer, and as you said, it's actually quite a lumpy time trial. There are 2 or 3 quite steep little inclines, so Izagirre should actually go well, but I think he's suffered a bit. He's actually been a leader for Bahrain, which he isn't used to. So I think he's done quite a bit of work. And Valverde, he's got something to ride for. I think he's got to go hell for leather. He's got to really put some time into the guys. So Valverde to beat Ion Izagirre at Sunbet, and yeah, then I'm pretty confident that Lopez is going to ship time, and that doesn't really bother me too much, to be honest. I think he should be expecting that, but I think Quintana on his day doesn't have a bad time trial, especially on that kind of course. So I'll take him, and Kruijswijk to beat Uran. I know Chris is quite a Uran fan, but I think Kruijswijk is actually he's playing pretty well at the moment, and he's a very decent time trialer. So I'll take that double of Quintana over Lopez onto Kruijswijk over Uran. I think that's also a Sunbet.
Yeah, well, I've got the bets summarized here now, guys. We've got let's start off with Castroveo 15-20 for a top 3 at Sunbet. Valverde over Izagirre, even money at Sunbet, and then the Quintana over Lopez, Kruijswijk over Uran double at 23-20. Also, Couch thrown in your Ben King there at 3-1 for the King of the Mountains. Just to touch on my outright bets, I'm not getting involved in the stage tomorrow, at least not at this point. If I do find a match bet, I'll post it in the Good for the Game forum. I know I have been having a good tour, so I've probably got a few guys that are hoping I'll come up with something tomorrow. But also very important to me, if you're on form, don't force it. Nothing stands out for me tomorrow. Perhaps if they were betting without the top 2, I would get more involved. But I do like the 7-1 Valverde at Sunbet. I'm not sure that that's going to be around in the morning. I think if he puts in a good time trial, I think he's going to shorten tremendously, certainly. But yeah, I think he's more of a 5-1 shot at the moment. And then Kruijswijk, I'm actually just adding a little bit more of Kruijswijk at 18-1. He's probably one of the better time trialists of the top 5. And if he does put a good one in, he's the sort of guy who only gets, put it this way, he doesn't weaken as the Grand Tour goes on. There's no real question marks about him exploding. He was at times struggling to hang in, but at other times he's attacked. And I think over the next few days, he's going to be very, very strong indeed. And I'm quite happy to have him running for me at 18-1. Although I certainly will need him to make some big gains in the time trial. Chris, I don't think you can see it there on the screen, but I've said Chris Sturdy taking a watching brief very much till later in the week, where we do have some great stages to get involved in betting-wise. And gents, that's it. Thanks very much. In closing, some closing thoughts for you. I'm sure you're both really looking forward to the next few days. And like me, if you're going to be at work, going to be recording the stage, Hein, you're going to be able to watch any of it live, or is it all going to be in the evenings?
No, it's definitely going to be recorded, and as I said, this is where it all happens. I think it's almost like a golf tournament where you can't win it in the first few rounds; you can only lose it. And a few guys like Port and Nibali and those guys have lost it, but now it's a case of which one of the 5 or 6 are gonna really stand up and take it. And as I said, this is the Vuelta. Crazy things can happen, so it's time to fasten the seatbelts. Things are gonna get crazy, and I love the big mountain stages, so I can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait either, Chris. And I'm sure you're fortunate in that you are full-time there, good for the game, which means it's almost your job to have the TV on and be watching the cycling.
Got to do it. Someone's got to keep an eye on all this
Where
stuff.
do I sign up? Where do I sign up for that, guys?
So, guys, yeah, it's going to be great. Thanks very much for the contributions. I think we're in for a thrilling week. This really is perhaps going to be the most exciting Grand Tour of the year. In fact, I could say that with quite a bit of confidence. Thanks a lot for joining us. Remember, you can click below the video here to subscribe to all of our videos. We've got the GG Gaming Gone Mad show. That's coming up on Wednesday night. We'll also have our flagship rugby show, The Handicap. That's 9 o'clock on Thursday night. Look forward to seeing you there. Thanks very much for joining us, and enjoy the cycling.